Welcome back to Lock and Reload. There are some subjects on YouTube that are just beaten to death. Well, I know the SKS is a pretty controversial rifle. It all depends on the shooter, the person who owns it, and what their take is. Well, this is my simplified review of my Yugoslavian SKS. This is the model M-59/66 A-1. And so it's basically my overview. I know I have another video out there, but this is a little bit more in detail. Anyway, so let's kick this pig off. First and foremost, this rifle is chambered in 7.62-39, which is also the same cartridge. That cartridge is also chambered in the AK-47, as a lot of you know. A little bit of history of the SKS. The SKS was actually designed in Russia, and it was designed to take the place of the Mosin Nagant. They needed a rifle that held more ammunition, that could have a higher rate of fire. So they developed the SKS. Now, the SKS was designed a little after or just before World War II ended. And they designed it. It's a robust design. Unfortunately, it didn't see a whole lot of service. I think they started putting them in service in literally the really late 40s, early 50s. The service didn't last very long because Mikhail Kalashnikov came out with his AK-47 and his AK platform rifle. Once the Russian army adopted that, this rifle was discontinued. Now, again, this rifle is controversial depending on who you're talking to and their take on it. But so again, there are a whole lot of different variants of the SKS. Whether they be your traditional Russian, whether they be your Yugoslavians, your Romanians, your Albanians. The Albanian SKS is actually quite a bit different than your standard variants of the SKS, and of course your Chinese Norinco. And I don't know if a lot of you know this, but I didn't know this at one time. But I do a lot of my research on firearms. The Yugoslavian SKS is quite frankly a carbon copy of the Russian SKS. The Yugoslavian did some improvements. They smoothed out some things that the Russians didn't. That's why there's a lot of people out there that don't really care for the Russian. A lot of people do, a lot of people don't. A lot of people say they jams, a lot of people say they work fine. It all depends on who you're talking to. Now, I've shot in every one of them except for the Albanian and the Romanian SKS. I've shot in Norinkos, I've shot in Yugos, obviously. I have shot in the Russians, and I think there's a couple other variants out there. I'm not entirely sure. If you have any more info, leave me a comment. Let me know. Let me know your take on the SKS. The military configuration of this rifle, I liked it, kinda. My biggest gripe about the military configuration was quite literally the stock. If you're a smaller person, you have no problems. The one thing I did like about the stock, and I don't see this on a lot of military surplus rifles, it did have a rubber recoil pad. Not that you really need one for the 7.62-39, because it's very low recoil. It's a medium caliber, it's a medium 30 cal cartridge. But I didn't care for the fact that it was a really short stock. A lot of surplus rifles are, and I just need a longer length of pull. I'm not saying I'm the tallest person on the planet, but I just need a different length of pull, and a longer one is at that. And I didn't really care for the internal mag. It functioned, it did great, but the magazine itself didn't bother me. Stripper clips did. As a lot of you know, loading a stripper clip can be kind of a pain in the ass, really, and I just didn't want to deal with it. Not to mention, I don't really like to carry around stripper clips with ammunition on them. I would prefer, like a box magazine, a detachable box magazine like you see that Tapco made for me. And that's pretty much the only gripes that I have about it. And, well, I have one more. The rifle weighs a lot. For the simple fact that this one is a milled receiver. Most SKSs, if not all of them, are all milled receivers. So obviously you're going to have a little heavier rifle when it comes to a milled receiver. Some of the other military features on here, I'm kind of up in the air about, is it did come with a grenade adapter so you can launch grenades. Obviously I changed mine out. It did come with a hooded front sight, and the cool thing is about that hooded front sight is you can adjust your windage and elevation, and they actually make a tool specifically for that. Now if you buy that tool, Tapco makes it, if you buy that tool you not only can adjust your windage and your elevation with the SKS, but with that same tool you can do the same thing with the AK-47 as well, and any AK patterned rifles. This one did come with a grenade sight. I live in Wisconsin, I don't do a whole lot of grenade shooting, so it's pretty useless. But I kept it on there because it's kind of cool, really. It did come with a gas shutoff, and this is the whole reason why I got this one, because of the gas shutoff. Not because I'm going to be shooting grenades, reloading purposes. I can reload semi-automatic cartridges, shoot it semi-automatic with my reloads, that's fine. But when you have the gas shutoff, I don't have to chase down my empty brass halfway across the range. These got a hefty extractor, and sometimes I find them, sometimes I don't. So when you're operating it with the gas shutoff, and how the gas shutoff works is basically you take this lever and you pull it up. Your gas is shut off. It stops all the gas going from the piston and operating your bolt. So you essentially you can operate it like a bolt action. That way this one is empty. Now the sights on here are pretty unique as far as SKSs. There are two different features, or one different feature. You have your standard day sights. And what I mean by standard day sights, if you can see that, I don't know if you can, you have your standard day sights in the front and rear. Now at night, they have their night sights, which essentially is a 3-dot system, if you can see that. That's actually kind of cool. But my one qualm about that is the front sight post. It's stationary. I don't know if that's very accurate. The rear sight, all it is a little cover. If you can see that, I can flip it up and down. Whether you want to, shoot at night or you just want a 3-dot system. Now, the rear sight apparatus, it's called a lot of different things. It is your meter adjustment or yardage adjustment. I call them a parallax because that's what it is. You can adjust it anywhere from 100 meters to 1,000 meters, and that's pretty standard. Whether it be a Mosin Nagant, whether it be an SKS, whether it be an AK, it's pretty standard. And of course, they all flip up, and for cleaning purposes, and you just adjust it accordingly. I don't know why they put 1,000 meters on here. I don't necessarily think the cartridge has enough power to shoot past 500. I'm sure it does, but accurately, who knows? Especially open sights. At 1,000 yards, that target, at 500 to 300 yards, that target's really, really tiny. I couldn't imagine 1,000 yards with open sights. But anyway, I digress. Now, there's not the general dislikes of this firearm. The only real general dislike I don't like about it, and even after my modifications, it's by far not the lightest firearm on the face of the planet. It is pretty heavy, and if you're in like a shit hits the fan scenario, zombie apocalypse, or WROL situation, it's a very heavy rifle. I don't really care for the bayonet for a general dislike, but I didn't take it off because, quite frankly, it's a real pain in the ass to take out. This one does, by the way, still have the cleaning rod. I didn't take it out, just more or less for aesthetics. I don't really use it, but for aesthetics. I do, and some of the pros that I really like about this the simple function of the rifle. And when a rifle functions simple, generally there's not a whole lot of parts. In turn, when you don't have a whole lot of parts, ridiculously easy to clean. I love the safety on here. I don't care for the trigger. Trigger has it's a really creepy trigger. It's got probably some of the longest trigger pull I've ever seen out of a rifle, but majority of your SKSs are like that. But other than that, takedown's great. Trigger, not really great. Safety's awesome. I love the safety on it because you don't take your hand out of battery whatsoever. And take that out. Let's see what else. And more of the pros on this rifle. It's just a very robust design. It's a great rifle. I really like it. There's not a whole lot that I hate about it, but again, I'm trying to be biased about it and non-biased about it. There's really not a whole lot of bad things I can say about it. I have a couple thousand rounds run through it. Oh, I do not like the fact that this is not a chrome lined barrel. All of your Yugoslavian munitions, whether it be your arms, whether it be your firearms, all Yugoslavian firearms are not chrome lined. They don't have chromium deposits, therefore they don't have chrome lined barrels on them. But, you know, just clean it extra good. As you know, chrome lined barrels are ridiculously easy to clean. My AK is chrome lined and that's really easy to clean. But very low maintenance firearm. If you're a first time shooter, this is a great firearm. If you are just getting into the firearm world, you can pick these up at a reasonable price. Very little recoil. I know a lot of women don't really care for a lot of recoil, and this is a step up above a 22. Great firearm for a good starter gun. I do recommend them for a good starter gun. And like my past videos, I do have a Tapco interfuse stock on it with the pistol grip and my Tapco muzzle brake. And it also has the Tapco recoil pad. I have and the 6th position stock on it. This is set up essentially for my fiance. If it was up to me, this one would be Coyote Tan. She shoots this thing more than I do. And she likes to shoot this thing a lot. And for all you women out there that are getting into firearm shooting, these are the way to go. Very simple maintenance. If she can take it apart, everybody, a monkey can take it apart, honestly. She's getting new into the firearms world, and this is her go-to rifle. The cost of ammunition on these are awesome. Cheap, very cheap. Not as cheap as 22, but pretty damn close. You can pick up 320 rounds at Sportsman's Guide for like $89. That's a pretty good deal. With the box mag, the stock, and the muzzle brake, a little over $100 for modification, so it won't necessarily break the bank, but it makes a solid rifle. It modernizes it, makes it cool for aesthetics, and it functions very well. So I highly recommend Tapco. Tapco also makes wood stocks. They started making them in 2011. They make thumb hole and your standard Monte Carlo stocks. So if you don't want the tactical look and you want more of a traditional rifle, go to Tapco's website, look it up. They got awesome stuff. Anyway, that same goes for the AK guys too. The AK guys, you can get wood furniture, and they actually just came out with the Russian red wood furniture for them too. But overall, awesome firearm. I highly recommend them. They are great rifles. They're inexpensive. Not a whole lot of flaws to them. At least not the Yugos anyway. They're cheap ammo. POU on this one. It's a good personal defense gun at home. Good range clean, and just all around good firearm. But at any rate, this is Lock and Reload with Ryan with Yugoslavian M-59/66 A-1. Catch you later.